Is the iPhone 14 gonna be a downgrade? I know we're still sort of hot off the heels of that jam-packed March event, but let me tell you right now, there have been a ton of new leaks and rumors that have come out about the rest of Apple's products for 2022. New iPhones, new iPads, new Macs, some other super special products that could be launching soon. And let me tell you, according to what we know right now, it's not a lot of good news. Let me just get the intro out of the way and get into it. There is so much to talk about in this video that I really don't know where to begin. We know from rumors that Apple has a jam-packed 2022 in store for us, that we just got sort of the beginning of what Apple is going to release. But as we get more info from many credible sources and analysts, the news is not looking good. And not only is the news not looking good, but for one of the first times that I have remembered, we've got some very wildly conflicting information from analyst to analyst. And a lot of people are not lining up and agreeing on what Apple is planning to do, which is causing some catfights in the world of Apple news and rumors. But despite what's going on in the background, the show must go on. Apple must release some new products, and they are, of course, set to release new iPhones, new iPads, new Macs, Apple Watches, lots of great stuff happening this year. And there might even be so much that there's not enough events or time to sort of release them all and give them all the proper time. But what if we could see a second event in the spring? And I make this assumption based off of Mark Gurman over at Bloomberg, who does not choose his words lightly, saying that we could see new Macs launch in May or June. He said this multiple times. And obviously June is when WWDC happens. That's when we see some new software and sometimes some new hardware. But the fact that he even mentions May sort of gets you guessing, could we see a second spring event in May? Is there so much that Apple has to release that there is just not enough time to do it in the summer or the fall? I'm not sure if it's actually gonna happen, but at least it's something to think about. Okay, so what other Apple products are we expecting to see later this year? And what could be coming in 2022 that would make you want to wait for the latest and greatest update to the iPad Pro? We had heard that a major redesign could be coming to these new models, that we could get a glass back for wireless charging, maybe we got MagSafe built in, some kind of design changes coming to these new tablets, but we really don't know what to expect. And then we had heard or sort of assumed that the M2 processor would go in the iPad Pro, and maybe Apple could bring their fancy schmancy mini LED tech from the 12.9-inch model down to the 11-inch model, giving the iPad Pro a great processor, a flagship processor, a lot of power, really great screen, in whatever size option you decided to go with. But now that might not actually be the case. Renowned display analyst Ross Young says that Apple is not expected to bring a mini LED tech to the 11-inch iPad Pro later this year. At least that's what he told this sort of random, crazy, obsessed Apple guy on Twitter. I don't know who that guy is, but he can sure be annoying. But we really don't know what the iPad Pro is going to bring when it launches sometime this year. But a mini LED display in the 11-inch version probably isn't one of them. So maybe the iPad Air is looking better and better unless you really want the ProMotion display, Face ID, and some of the other Pro features that you get if you spend the extra money on the iPad Pro. Now, one product surprisingly absent from that March event was an all-new redesigned Mac Mini. We had heard some rumors that Apple was going to give the small Mac some love. We were gonna get colors, we were gonna get a new design, and Apple did give us a really great Mac Mini replacement that sort of turned into the Mac Studio. The Mac Mini didn't get a mention, well, rarely at all at that event. It did get some nods, but not really. Most of the attention was on the Mac Studio, and now the big question is, what could be coming to the Mac Mini, if anything? Well, as of what we know right now, the M2 processor is supposed to make its way to the Mac Mini at some point, but it's not looking like much else will actually change. According to analyst Ming-Chi Kuo, the Mac Mini will come with an update, but it's not going to get any sort of design change at all. It's going to stick with the exact same design it's got right now. And also Mark Gurman over at Bloomberg sort of said something similar without saying that exactly. He said an update to the Mac Mini would be coming with the M2 that would replace the Intel versions, which sort of maybe offhandedly confirms that there is no design change coming, or maybe there is. But as of right now, it looks like the Mac Mini might get a little bit of love, but not nearly the update that we thought it would just a week or so ago. We've also got some new info on the iPhone 14 that I have to share, which is, well, good or bad depending on the model you want to pick up. So obviously the iPhone rumor mill is always a roller coaster. There are some high highs and some very low lows. And this year Apple might do something that they've never done before with their sort of flagship iPhone series, and that is give us different, really substantially different processors in these phones. So according again to Ming-Chi Kuo and also confirmed independently by 9to5Mac, we're learning that the iPhone 14 14 and the iPhone 14 Pro models will have different chips. That the iPhone 14 and the iPhone 14 Max, sort of the lower end iPhones, those would have the A15 Bionic that we have with the iPhone 13, that's also in the iPhone SE and other products. So that is going to stick with that latest and greatest Apple Silicon, while the iPhone 14 Pro and Pro Max, the higher end, more expensive phones, would move to the higher end, brand new A16 Bionic processor. Now again, we don't know what the differences are between these processors. Are they substantial? Are they minimal? We just don't know. But it seems like Apple is starting to sort of feel the pressure from the global supply chain issues, and that they're not able to get as much silicon as they like in different devices. Maybe this is why the M2 has seemingly been delayed from what we heard a few months ago. Maybe this is why the A15 is going to go in some 14s and not the other, and same for the A16. We don't exactly know how this is going to pan out, but what we know right now is that there might be different processors in the different iPhone 14 models this year. Again, will this make a big difference? Probably not, but if you do want the latest and greatest Apple Silicon, you might have to shell out the big bucks to go with a 14 Pro or 14 Pro Max, which is something strange that's never happened in the sort of modern iPhone history before. I know it sort of happened with the iPhone 5C, but I'm talking really flagship iPhone models specifically. There's also some more bad news, or at least some mixed news, on the MacBook Air. This is supposed to be a really substantial update to the MacBook Air. It was supposed to bring an all new design, some new color options, a mini LED display, the notch, and the M2 processor inside. And now, no one really knows what's coming, when it's coming, and what this MacBook Air is actually going to do. According to analyst Ming-Chi Kuo, a MacBook Air is in the works with a redesign, but it will not have a mini LED display, and it will just keep the M1 chip inside. So basically, a much smaller update than we originally thought. But according to Mark Gurman, the MacBook Air is going to get an M2 processor, but we don't know when it's going to launch or if there's going to be a radical redesign or not. So I guess just another example of when rumors seem to fail us. As of right now, a new MacBook Air is coming, but we don't know how big or small of an upgrade it's really going to be. So we're just going to have to wait and see what happens with this new thin and lightweight Mac. Next up, let's talk iMac Pro, because this has also been quite a roller coaster to follow, and there have been so many conflicting rumors and theories on what Apple is going to do and what they're not going to do. So yes, according to an Apple exec at that March event, the Mac Pro is the last Mac, it's the last product to get an upgrade in the Apple Silicon transition, which led many to believe that the iMac Pro was sort of never going to make its return. We also learned that Apple shortly after that event basically just discontinued the 27-inch iMac, and we've heard multiple reports that Apple has no plans to develop and produce and sell another large screen 27-inch iMac, which sort of begs the question, what's going to happen with the iMac Pro? Now, on one hand, some believe that the Mac Studio and the Studio Display are Apple's answer to that market, that they believe the iMac Pro was created as a stopgap while Apple was fixing the issues with the trash can Mac Pro and developing something better. But on the other hand, we keep hearing rumor after rumor that Apple has not abandoned the iMac Pro and that this machine is still in development. And some think that the reason it wasn't sort of mentioned at that event, or at least why the Mac Pro was rumored to be, or I guess referenced as the last Mac to be updated, was because technically, I guess right now, the iMac Pro doesn't exist because it's been discontinued. And also, the iMac line already did get a silicon transition with the 24-inch iMac. This would be a new model, so we can get the semantics aside and sort of get the specifics to the side. But we have heard that the iMac Pro is coming from multiple sources, and Apple is still developing a large Pro-focused iMac. According to Mark Gurman and Ming-Chi Kuo, they both say that we should see this by the end of the transition in 2023. Mark Gurman says we should see this by the end of 2023. Ming-Chi Kuo says we will see this in 2023. So sort of two independent sources confirming that all hope was not lost on the iMac Pro. Of course, Apple is still expected to release a new version of the Mac Pro sometime this year or next year that maybe will be like an XL version of the Mac Studio that packs a whole ton of power in a relatively small little box that goes right on your desk or maybe right by your desk. According to Mark Gurman, this could be running off of the M2 Ultra or an all-new M2 Extreme, which would be absolutely crazy to see. And again, hopefully we see this sometime sooner than later, either at the end of the year or sometime in 2023. We also, of course, know that Apple is planning to release new Apple Watches later on this fall with a new Series 8, obviously, and maybe a new rugged edition coming as well. Also, a new version of the SE2 is coming to replace the Apple Watch SE. And also, AirPods Pro are coming later this fall as well, with maybe a new stem design, maybe a new case. Should be a really nice update coming to the AirPods Pro, which really haven't gotten an update since October of 2019. So it's been a while, long overdue, and I cannot wait to see what these new AirPods Pro can do. And last but certainly not least, I've got some new news on the Apple Mixed Reality headset, and it's not the news we were probably hoping for. So, of course, this Mixed Reality headset has been rumored for years. It's going to allow you to watch movies, play games, talk with friends, and do things in a way you've never experienced before. It's supposed to change everything. It's supposed to be Apple's next big thing, but it might not be changing everything as soon as we would have liked because, according to Mark Gurman over at Bloomberg again, this might now be delayed until 2023. As always though, I want to know your thoughts on all of this. What are your thoughts on the rest of Apple's plans for 2022? Is it good news? Is it bad news? Are you disappointed by some of the Mac news? Are you excited for the iPhone 14? Let me know your thoughts to all this down below. We can discuss, we can geek out, we can talk together, and either get excited or sort of mourn the loss of some of these rumors together in the comments down below. As always though, guys, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. I'm Robert Rosenfeld from the Apple Circle, and I'll see you all in the next one.